The fundamentals of the company made sense. Product, margins, right? Financials, those things made sense. Now, his company was failing. And the reason why was because of all of the things that he wasn't an expert in. And that was the business side. Lots of these things I'm talking about, though, I can fix. That, to me, makes a great acquisition. Today, we're going to do a breakdown of a company that I bought that is in the hunting industry. All right. Now, normally we're here talking about real estate entrepreneurship and businesses, and a lot of the companies that I've either started or bought, I haven't dove into. So today, I wanted to talk about why I bought this company and what I think the value is and how some of the ways you can go about buying companies are. I'm also under contract with another company in the industry. Now, I generally have always owned real estate and outside companies, including vertically integrated private equity firm that invests in self-storage. That's my main business and what I do. This is very important when I'm looking at buying other companies per se, because I don't want to run them. I don't want to run the day-to-day. In fact, a lot of them I don't even want to buy outright. Most of the time, I'm looking at the infrastructure that my businesses have and how I can leverage that and help other companies. Now, that was the key to VAT. Now, VAT is a company in the hunting industry that focuses on preservation products like Bone Bright or Velvelock. These preserve, while you're hunting, things like the velvet on the antlers or makes the bones bright. It does lots of different things to help you preserve the game after you've already had it, including fan lock for things like turkeys. There was a reason I love this product, and that was because the products that they have, nobody else has. It was very unique. Now, the entrepreneur that started it was a 30-year veteran in the hunting industry. He was a guide, actually out in the field. A really great guy. I really liked him, and we immediately hit it off, and I trusted him most of all. Now, his company was failing. It was almost done. And the reason why was because of all of the things that he wasn't an expert in. And that was the business side, right? We're talking about capital, investing. We're talking about managing a lot of the back-end systems and processes. You see, he was a true entrepreneur. He had a product, he knew the industry, he knew what it needed, and because of that, the product that he made was growing amazingly. Everybody wanted it. It was growing at 200% a year, yet the company was still in trouble. Now, these are the kind of opportunities that I like. The reason being is I can help and actually help the company not only succeed and grow, but we have an entrepreneur who is intimately involved in the day-to-day production of the product and the industry, what it needs. That's not me. That's him. Now, that is just a general overview of why I found interest in the company. That doesn't mean it's a good investment. That doesn't necessarily mean I should buy into the company or anything like that. The devil is in the details, right? So the devil's in the contract and the financials. That's really where we want to look. Now, this is what really piqued my interest, besides the fact that Daryl, the entrepreneur, I was very impressed with. I liked the details, and the details weren't good. And he was upfront and open about the struggles that he was having. So we sat down, and he just had a very open conversation. I'm not good at this. These are the problems we're having, and I don't know how to solve them. So he was honest and passionate about his product and his company, and he put it before he did anything else, including himself. That is the sign of a good entrepreneur. He wanted his company and product to sell to go out at all cost. That's all he wanted. Now, when I looked at the details were things like how they had structured shares, what they had given to certain people, and that also included debt, the mismanagement of marketing, ad spend, and all sorts of other things that did not generate any kind of ROI. When you looked at the very simple nature of the company, which is it has a great product, and that product sells, and people buy it, that was growing. They have great margins. They have a very, very unique product that is specialty only to them. They are the only ones that develop these product here. And it works amazingly. Those details, including the manufacturing, which the entrepreneur and 2 employees do right here locally, they have that down. They already have they already have the manufacturing, and they can get the chemicals made and they can get that brought to them. All of that was already lined up and had been going on for around 3 years. The company had made great inroads and including got on some of the shelves of big distributors like Cabela's and others that had interest. Now, I've got to be careful when I'm talking about that because it depends on the location and where they go. But they all had interest because the product worked so well and the customers wanted it. Now, Daryl had done a good job with a few people that he'd made contact with that helped him to run the business. The problem they were having was once again on this back end. It was really having a guided effort to create process and systems, a good financial backing, and stake in the company to where that stuff that Daryl didn't want to do, the entrepreneur, he didn't have to. And he wanted that off of him. And frankly, it was being an anchor. Now, anytime you look at a company, anytime you're looking at investing, if you are taking an active role in it, it is all about what you bring to the table. If there was nothing that I could do, I wouldn't have wanted to buy the company. If there was no benefit that I had, right, I wouldn't have had any interest in it. And 2, I also made it very clear if Daryl wasn't going to be in it, I had no interest in it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to run the day-to-day. I didn't know anything about it. And all companies, that's important. Whether you're starting one or buying one, it's to understand where your strengths and weaknesses are. Be okay with that. Don't hide it. And partner up with people that have the opposite of you. Daryl had opposite strengths of me. So we struck a deal that made sense to me. Now, I was very, very clear about the deal. And this was another thing that I enjoyed was me and Daryl could talk very, very frank. We didn't need to beat around the bush. We didn't need to go around. It was just, this is exactly what I need. This is what I'm going to do. This is what's going wrong. Very frank conversations upfront about the good, the bad, the ugly. And to me, I was going to take basically the controlling stake of the company because I needed to fund it hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I would take the majority shares and control. Now, this seems like a very hard pill to swallow. First of all, that's a lot, especially because there were other partners involved and Daryl had built the company up. Now, I did not want Daryl's equity to change. In fact, I wanted him to make more money, and we put that in the contract. Day 1, it had to go to funding him more so he could live and do a good job at running this business. And we had to get back to running the business as it should be instead of playing cash games. That's why I eliminated the debt stack. Most of the debt that had been taken on was debt that was one-time use and didn't generate an ROI, and it just kept stacking up. And it was just severe mismanagement of it. And then as it kept stacking up, it started to take over and create huge monthly payments, which then drowned their ability to reinvest their capital back into the company. It also made it so Daryl couldn't make a living. Now, this is a really, really hard spot to be in because at the point he was in, based upon cash management and different debts, he was worried the company was going to go away within weeks. Now, this is where, once again, I applaud him. He said, I need to get it done. I need to do whatever is best for the company. And he was willing to do a restructure. Since then, we exploded sales immediately the next month. And the main reason is I got out of the way. So I came to the back end. We took over. I put in some of my team members to help. And then we took over the capital. Obviously, we erased debt. We changed the financing. We started looking at different opportunities. We started marketing. We opened up new channels. And sales exploded very, very quickly. Why this is important? It's because I wasn't trying to create something that wasn't there. Didn't think that I could. The point being is, I was trying to move the barriers away from the customers getting the product and allowing Daryl and his team that he had already built to succeed. I wasn't coming in and trying to do a huge overhaul and change, even though we did change things. But once again, the changes that were made were to remove barriers from people that already knew what they were doing and were good at it. I like that a lot. First of all, we had a very clear mission and path. We knew where the company could go. We exactly knew who the target audience was, and it was a proven product. It was a proven sell. We already knew major outlets wanted it. We already knew it was selling. We could see that. All the numbers showed it. The details showed where the problem lied. The problem was not with the product, how much it cost, their margin, or the fact that customers didn't want it. It really was a product of business mismanagement and cash problems due to the mismanagement, not due to the fundamental selling of the product. Now, that is more where I excel. I see and I understand those things. And I was able to come in, partner with Daryl, buy that majority stake, open up the company to new avenues, and let him go. This is a really good arrangement for me and for him. Now, all in, I'll put a couple $100,000 plus into this company. Now, a lot of that will go through not just getting rid of the debt, but it will also go into marketing. I also put my infrastructure and people in. So they are helping and I'm paying for the cost of that. There's a lot of ongoing things that I put in and built, which becomes infrastructure into the company. That's everything from accounting. That's everything from ads, marketing. We do a lot of different back-end things. That alleviates the company of those cash needs immediately. So we're taking those on upon ourselves to make sure it's in the right footing. Once we did those things and got those things out of the way of the business and the product, it boomed. And it's continuing to. And we believe that it'll continue to because all we had to do was get the barriers out of the way. Once again, the point of that is to understand why I like this company. And that was that the market liked it, the customers liked it, the entrepreneur knew and understood the industry and business. I wasn't trying to invent something that I hoped that people would like. I was just listening to the market and I was looking at the business and the financials to see if the market actually liked it, if it was actually taking that product, if it was selling, if it was good, if there was demand for it. Those are all things I cannot invent and I can't make up. And these are shown in the business's numbers. Most of the time, we see this in growth through sales, top line growth, okay? That top line growth we can see in sales. We also see it in how customers return, how they utilize the product. We can see it in reviews. We can also see it in distribution channels and how fast it's adapted as we open up new distribution channels. The problem becomes is just because you have high growth doesn't mean it's successful, meaning that you can have high growth of sales because everybody wants it at a price point that never makes sense to put the product out on the market. That just means you're running negative. So people will buy it at a price point where it's better for them than it is for the company. That is not a successful company. That was the other thing that I liked about this. We could produce it. We had enough cash coming in the door that we could obviously get new products and fulfill new orders, take care of operations, but we had excess capital that we could use to invest back in the company to generate a return. Our gross margin was big enough to where we could do all of these things and more. That meant that the company could sustain itself and grow without the need of constant excess capital. That's another business I don't want to be a part of. I don't want to be in a business where that product and the business itself will only grow and if you keep injecting capital. What we see is that's because the product may make a profit and it may generate a profit, but in order to get that product out to more people or that service to more individuals, distribution lines, marketing, everything else, you have to inject more capital because it can't sustain itself through growth. The margins aren't big enough. Once again, companies I don't want to be a part of. This company had all of those. Now that's very, very important because all the products we have, what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to give to the consumers, we have to develop a better product. We have to build a better business and we have to get it out to consumers. We need that cash flow to invest and the company should be able to do that. If not, it will die. Now you think that sounds, of course, obvious, But that is a huge function that most people miss. The reason is what they do is they look at this. The product cost me, let's say this product cost $10 for a customer to buy. And then you say, well, it cost me $5 to make. That means I have a 50% margin, right? That's a gross margin. What you're not including in is all of the things that it takes to make the product, deliver the product, and run the business. Lots of times when you do that, now your product has only 50 cents worth of profit, right? Or none at all, because they don't include everything that it takes to actually get the product to market and sell it. Lots of times entrepreneurs don't even include their own time. So what they do is they say, oh, we're making a profit, but yet you're working your brains out and you're not even getting paid. So that profit is actually just your salary. I see this a lot with things like gyms, where you have a gym franchise and the person that runs the gym is the entrepreneur. And he doesn't pay himself because he's doing all the work. And then the gym makes, let's say, a profit of $50,000 a year. Well, in order to replace the person that's doing the work, you'd have to pay somebody $50,000 a year, or else the business won't succeed. Therefore, it's not $50,000 in profit because you're not counting the actual expenses that go into it. There's a real big difference between gross margin and net margin, right? And profit margin. This is what I look at when we're dealing with these companies. This company, we had enough gross margin to where that was all doable. We could expand, we could build. We have to deliver better products. Every company needs this. If not, it will die. This is why I believe that if you're not growing, you're dying. It's an economic function, not an idea that I just think you should grow for growth's sake. That's not it. It's an actual economic function where if the company's not growing, it's not getting resources to keep up with the customers, the product demand, inflation, on and on and on. And the company will eventually die. And the misuse of capital kills companies faster than anything else, because then you utilize capital to go to things that don't generate an ROI. You take out debt for those things. Now you have to pay debt. Then all of a sudden that gross margin is going to pay off debt, which gives you nothing in return. And it slowly kills the company itself. These are all things that are normal and customary. Lots of these things I'm talking about, though, I can fix. What I can't fix is if the market will take the product at $10, but it won't take it at 15 or 20. And we have a gross margin, but we can't get a net margin, and we don't have enough money to reinvest in the company to build it. When that happens, then I can't do anything about it because the market won't accept it. I can't make up demand, and I can't force, obviously, people. Don't try to, and don't believe that your product is good because you like it and because it works. That doesn't matter. It only matters if the market likes it and if they'll pay enough to make it and distribute it to them. So people may like products that they would buy, but all the cost that comes into actually getting that product to them, making it, making sure that it's right, and servicing the customers, they may not want to pay that much, so they don't like it that much. It won't be successful. None of these things you can know. Only the market can show you. That's it. Now, ideas and concepts are very, very different than in practice. We see this all the time. Entrepreneurs say, I like it. Oh, my mom likes it, right? And she said that she'd pay it. All my buddies said that they'd absolutely buy this product or service for me. But then when you go out to the market, nobody really will. Why? Because saying you're going to do something versus paying for something is not the same thing. This is why when I go and I look for companies and I want to buy companies, I want to see track records and I want to see growth. Did you already go within your own surplus of customers that bought it, that told you that they would, but then you go outside and there's no way you can grow because nobody else wants it. So how big is that demand? Where's that demand coming from? Is it sustainable and can it grow? And are your products only desired based upon price? That I also don't like, because you lose out to anybody that's bigger than you that can compete on price. This is an easy way for small entrepreneurs to get killed by bigger competitors and distributors, where they can produce that product at a much lower cost. Therefore, they don't need to charge as much. Well, lots of times, especially when you're starting out, you have to build the infrastructure that those companies already have in order to compete. You can't do that at the price point they can do it at, and so you'll fail. Once again, things that we avoided. Why? Because our product is only created, and the formulas are only done by us. Nobody else can do it, and nobody else has it. Now, with his inroads into the industry and his experience, he had lots and lots of knowledge. They also had lots of connections within the industry and is well respected. This is a big difference. Now, me, I'm not a huge hunter. I have been. A lot of you even saw on my Instagram, I took my son up to the northern Yukon to hunt for moose. Amazing. I'm from Idaho. I grew up hunting. We grew up pheasant hunting and duck hunting, right? This is a normal part of our life. Elk hunting is everything out here. We got mule deer, on and on and on. This is part of our culture. But I am not what a respectable hunter would look at in any way, shape, or form to use as an example. I don't have 30 years of experience. I'm not an avid hunter just because I've done it before. That is very different, right? And I'm very clear on that. Whereas the entrepreneur and the other partners that we have, they are. That's why we listen to them and I stay in my lane. And that's really, really important because that expertise and industry knowledge and the respect that comes from someone that's been doing it for 30 years in that field, that cannot be overlooked. One of the things that we see a lot with private equity companies or people buying businesses is they look at the back end and they see problems and they think that that qualifies them for the front end or understanding their industry or product better than the person that's doing it. That's not true. Just because you have a set of skills here doesn't mean that you do on the other side. This is why I like partnerships. And I like people that have invested interest to make the company successful. And they're successful when the company is, and so am I. And that's how we build out our contracts. I'm really excited about this company. And I'll show some more things. We have some more financials, different things like that we're going to go over. You guys can check out my newsletter because in the newsletter, I'm actually going to put financials and breakdown. It's a lot harder to do that on a podcast and a YouTube video. So you guys can go sign up for the newsletter. It's in the link below and in our description. You can check it out. We're going to put way more numbers, things you can see out why I liked it, what I did, what we created, what the debt stack was, how that looked. Much more in depth, easier for you to see and understand. But I hope that you guys listen to the podcast before you read the newsletter because that gives the context to understanding it. The pillars that I would say here are, first of all, trust. And that is the partners and people that I worked with, I trusted. And incentives were aligned with that trust. It's not about trusting alone. Their incentives were aligned and the contract was written to that trust. Very important. I trust because we have it written in contract and because the incentives will allot that outcome. Very important. Now, that doesn't mean I naively trust people, right? And it's not about not trusting people or trusting people. It's about going along with what you said you'd do. We had no problem with that, both sides. The next side is that industry expertise, that knowledge, that core knowledge of the product and industry. That was very important. Now, the third part was obviously what I would do if I had anything I could even give, because if I didn't want anything to do with the company. That I felt I could. All of us have something that we can generally lend or do. A lot of people vastly overlook it, including labor. When you're young and an entrepreneur, your best qualities happen to be the fact that you can take risk and that you have time. Those are things that I don't have anymore. I don't have time and I don't have the risk that I can take of time and everything else of something not working out. So I don't do that anymore. So even when you're young and you think you have nothing, that actually lends to you have things that other people don't have. And for people that are in my boat, those are big, big qualities because we don't have them and can't have them. So everyone has different things that they can do and lend. It's just important to know what you're good at and what you aren't. And then the last and the final thing was that the fundamentals of the company made sense. Product, margins, right, financials, those things made sense. And the things that were wrong with it had nothing to do with the things that I couldn't control, i.e. the market and the demand for the product. That to me makes a great acquisition. Now, follow the link below, check out the newsletter. We'll put more financials in. You guys can also go check out the company, watch us as we grow it, and see everything that we're doing. We're trying new ads. We've got a new logo on it. We've abbreviated stuff, works for stuff for SEO. We have a great team on this. Our entrepreneur, my partner in it, Daryl, is just amazing. And he had already had some great people that were now moving and working. So let us know as you guys watch along. And I'll be open. I'll tell you guys what's going good with the company and what's going wrong with the company. We took it over about 2 months ago. We tripled the sales literally within weeks of taking it over. Really excited to show you guys those numbers in the newsletter. And hopefully we can produce more like this, like my software company and things like that we can show you guys how we structured it, what we started it out for, and how it's going today, and bring you guys along the journey as we are investing, buying companies like I've been doing for 20 years. Now, over the last 20 years, I have started and bought a lot of companies, some that worked and some that did not work. The key is understanding why they didn't work and why they worked so we could build out a system that is repeatable. It is also important to know that I have a team of people at this point. Now, when I started, I didn't, and we would have to do all the work ourselves. And that was fine, and I was willing to do that. And I love sharing and showing examples of that and the companies that we started and did that, like our private equity spot, our property management company. We have our companies within our vertical stack. All of those we did, our educational companies, our marketing, on and on and on. That work was just me. We were just creating it. We were doing everything, and then we were hiring as we went along. Most of those companies, I didn't get paid for years. So excited to show you guys those things, and lots of those things you guys now see. So you guys see when you're on Instagram, when you're looking, you see the efforts of me, my family, others, as we've been doing these things for years. You're seeing the outcomes. This is a great product to show you in the middle, taking it over and buying it. It's also something that anybody can do. We're talking about not a ton of capital. This isn't millions of dollars that I had to do, right? Now, you can gather friends, families, other people together to raise money to buy businesses. Now, it's important that if you do, though, you focus on those 4 areas and you make sure that you're not just buying into a hope and a dream. The whole point of buying a business is that you can see what's going on and what's good and what's bad. That's why it's better than starting a business from scratch, because you don't know. But when you buy a business, you can already see if the market is accepting it, adapting it, and if it's working. That's why I love buying businesses. And I've started a lot of businesses on my own. It's way harder and way more risk. So, hope you guys like this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think and what you guys want to see and hear more of, and we'll make sure you guys get it.